The older I get, the more I realize that the hustle and grind mentality is complete and utter BS. Now, I don't say this because there's nothing to gain from hustling for money or grinding to get better at a skill, a sport, a profession, or a trade, but rather because the hustle and grind mentality as a foundational characteristic of the human experience here in America is so obviously propaganda, to me at least, to convince us, you and I, that we should whittle ourselves away until we are nothing but sawdust, until our mental faculties are gone, until our physical bodies have been destroyed, until they have decayed into nothingness, and until our connection with spirit is completely toast. This is what I see around me every single day. I see this not only in the people online who tell you that your life is your responsibility, and if things aren't going your way, it's because you're not working hard, because you're not putting in enough effort, because you don't have the proper skills or licenses or certifications or degrees, because you don't have the proper network, because you haven't met the right people, because you haven't put the work in. It's not just those people. It's the average person that I see walking around the streets here in Chicago, the average person who is hunched over because their back is broken from years of labor. It's the average person who, when I pick them up as an Uber and Lyft driver here in the city, who works every day, someone who does not follow my own advice in this sense, because I hustle, I grind, and I make music on hustling and grinding. People that I pick up in my car, I hear it in their words. The life is gone from their language. They can't articulate anything interesting because they have completely checked out of life. And they haven't checked out because of politics, because Trump this, or Biden that, or Kamala that, or Obama that, or Epstein files that. It's not because of all of the drama in the news cycle, or because of geopolitical issues, or because the gold price is spiking and then, it just crashed. It's not because of that. It's because they are beaten down by a system that continuously tells them they're not working hard enough, even when they're working every minute of their lives. I just picked up a kid today who is going to college to get his degree, his master's, and he works 3 jobs, and he's trying to run a nonprofit on the side to make sure that kids in his community can get funding to go to school. People who are not in the position to afford higher education for a variety of reasons, for a plethora of reasons. He's doing all of this, and he's probably getting that same propaganda pushed down his throat based on the way he was speaking to me during a fantastic conversation we had, an insightful one where he taught me so much about the city and everything that's going on with the ICE raids and what is, in many respects, an occupation. The way that he was speaking, I know that he's getting the same propaganda, that he's not working hard enough, that he's not putting in enough effort, that he's not picking himself up by his bootstraps, that he just hasn't done enough. And it's sickening. It's absolutely and utterly sickening, because there's nothing wrong with working hard, especially if you're someone that truly enjoys working. Because if you enjoy what you do for work, as I do, I enjoy driving Uber. It doesn't feel like work to me. I enjoy writing music. Doesn't feel like work to me. I enjoy playing basketball. Doesn't feel like work. Chess doesn't feel like work. Everything I do in my life, it doesn't feel like work. That's why I love my life. That's why I love how I've engineered things. So even though I said about a minute and a half ago that I don't follow my own advice because I work 7 days a week, I don't feel like it's work. So for me, it doesn't necessarily apply in that same sense. And though some people truly love to work, even though they hate what they're doing, they just love to work because they love what comes with it, the dopamine, the serotonin, the status, the awards, the recognition, the hot women, the jacked guys, the luxury apartment, the villa in some European country. They love what comes with it. For the vast majority of people, this hustle and grind thing isn't going to cut it. It's not going to fulfill them in any way, shape, or form. It is going to destroy them. And even if it's something that you enjoy or that some people enjoy, I can still say objectively that it's going to destroy your spiritual and emotional faculties. Because for these people in question that truly enjoy the dopamine and the serotonin and the status and the accomplishments, the awards, the recognition, the trips, all of this stuff that comes with working, even if they hate the job, being a lawyer perhaps, being a business and mergers acquisition specialist, somebody that's sitting in these high profile meetings, negotiating deals, signing paperwork. If you're one of these people, even if you hate the profession, you have to give so much to it, to the point where you become so one-sided, so lopsided, that everything else falters. Your relationship cannot possibly be optimal. It can't be, because you don't have enough energy as a human being. I know this to be true. This is objectively true. I will not even debate this, because if somebody wants to give me an alternate view on this, they can, and they can have their opinion. And I'm not going to tell them that they can't. I certainly wouldn't legislate that opinion out of existence. But I know that they're wrong, because I've experienced this too viscerally in my own life, and I've seen it in too many folks. As someone who's taken over 18,000 Uber rides in 2 cities, I can tell you that you cannot do it because you don't have enough energy. You don't have enough time to make sure that everything is on point if you're working as hard as you say you're working. If you're hustling as hard as you say you're hustling. Truly, you cannot be that committed to that many things. You cannot have a beautiful, flowering marriage and be working 100 hours a week at a job, especially one that you don't like, one that you are only doing because of chemical rewards. You cannot do it. It does not work. That equation does not add up. Einstein would agree with me if he was still alive. Oppenheimer would agree with me if he was still alive. Every single chemist, every single physicist would agree with me, because it's true. You can't do it. I've tried. I've failed over and over and over and over and over again. Unless you commit in the proper portions to everything, you can't have it all. You can't go all in on work, all in on hustle and grind, all in on I'm going to have 5, 10 different ventures. I'm going to build all these businesses online, and I'm going to work Uber and Lyft, and I'm going to do X, Y, Z, and I'm going to bartend. And you can't do that and have a flowering relationship. You can't do that and also have the best fitness you could have. You also cannot have this wonderful, beautiful connection with the divine, with everything around you. You can't do it if all you're doing is working. If all you're doing is hustling and grinding for a paycheck, for someone who doesn't give a about you, who would get rid of you if they could because they don't want to pay you anyway. They're just waiting for the day that AI could do it for cheap. You're never going to have a total life. And as someone who's spoken to 35, 40, 45, 50,000 people just in the Uber and Lyft profession, not only as someone who's served tables, who's bussed tables, who's been on a receiving dock, who's worked every job under the sun, who's been in many different places over the past decade, I can tell you that everyone I meet, they don't want to do this. They don't want to hustle. They don't want to grind. They want to kick back. They want to work 25, 30 hours a week, maybe, just enough to make them fulfilled, just enough to make them feel like they're contributing. And then the rest of the time, they want to spend going to museums, walking through parks, hanging out with their significant others, getting coffee, getting brunch, getting dinner, seeing the sights, traveling, working on art, playing video games, writing, contemplating life, doing anything but hustling and grinding for what? For a position on a totem pole that is fracturing, that is crumbling, and that quite frankly didn't even exist to begin with. This is the lie that's being exposed in America. It's the lie that should have been obvious forever. But that's the best part about lies, is that you don't see them until you do. And once you see them, the thing that hurts the most isn't the fact that they were there. It's that you could have saw them days and days and days and days of your lives. You could have seen them weeks ago, months ago, years ago, decades ago. And you didn't. I believe that's what the American people are waking up to. More and more. I think COVID really pushed that forward. I think it's only going to get pushed forward more. The thing that I am looking forward to, not in an optimistic or hopeful sense, just in a cold, rational sense, something that I'm very curious about what's going to happen, is what actually comes of it. Will AI replace most people? Will people have to go on the government dole? Will there be oppression and totalitarianism? Will this really turn into a police state? Will we be destroyed by the AI? All these different things that could happen. I'm curious what actually comes of it, because I do believe there is a consciousness rising, if you want to use a Marxian term, amongst the classes, in this case the lower class, the proletariat class, because there is only a lower and an upper class. There is no middle class. There's a lower and an upper class. If you're middle class, you're lower class, or you're upper class. Pick one. You decide which one. You could be one of those people that say, I'm a future rich. Okay, whatever. Fine. I feel that way too, but that doesn't mean what you think it means. In any case, I do believe there is a consciousness taking place here. There is a rise in it, but what becomes of it? That's my question. You answer it in the comments. With that, I say, let me know what you think about this, and I'll see you in the next one. Much love. Peace. This is Da Vinci. Have a great